this is a visual picture that or diagram that I made based off of a diagram that my old boss at Cornell published in the journal Nature. And it just shows the global carbon cycle as it always has been, as it always has been over here, where plants are pulling CO2 out of the air into their leaves and respiring oxygen. So they're pulling in CO2, they're putting out oxygen, and it's an even exchange in this system. You see 50% carbon going in, 50% carbon rotting, coming out as gases. But when we add pyrolysis, which is the technique for producing biochar, to the system, it reduces the amount of CO2 leaving the system by 20%. Because pyrolysis has some gas emissions, or some emissions, but the emissions from the soil go from 50% down to 5%. When pyrolysis is done in a modern setting, not in a hole in the ground, it's done in these very high-tech kiln-like machines, and they burn what's in there in the absence of oxygen, and there are no gas emissions at all from that type of burning. The only products that come out of the system are contained oils and gases that can be used as a diesel fuel type fuel, and biochar comes out. And pyrolysis has been around for a very long time as a waste management system. It's similar to what some places use for incinerating rubbish, but and the technology sort of fell out of favor until my mentors and their colleagues found a use for the biochar, which used to just be a waste product. But they found out if you pyrolyze materials that make quality biochar, that's no longer a waste product, and that's another valuable product. In the field trial that I started back in 2007, one of the things that we did, we did all the soil, chemical and biological testing and everything. This is how we tested the greenhouse gas emissions from that field. And greenhouse gas emissions are by the media and by people in general, it's just regarded as something that's like too complex. You can't see it, you can't measure it. All that can be done is like model it with computer models and stuff. And computer models are great, but it's very easy to measure. And like this whole kit for measuring greenhouse gas emissions cost about $5 US. It consists of a plastic bucket with the bottom cut out. So the bottom was cut out of a plastic bucket, so it's just like a plastic tube gently hammered into the soil. It's got a flexible plastic lid that has a ventilation tube coming out of it. And you can kind of see this, or this thing here is a rubber septum, like what's in, like what, when doctors draw medicine out of, with a syringe out of a glass bottle. That's essentially what that is right there. And these are vacuum bottles from analytical lab, so they're just reusable glass bottles that also have a septum in the top. And so we hammered this into the ground and put the lid on, waited 5 minutes, and then stuck the syringe in, took out a certain number of milliliters of gas sample, and put them into the vacuum jars, and put it in with the rest of them to take back for analysis. And it's very easy to do, and it's something that I'm hoping to be able to do here in New Zealand, where greenhouse gas emissions are such a important topic right now. I think a lot of people would be interested to know that it is something they can measure themselves. And this is like the $5 way of doing it, plus like the analytical lab charged like $17 for a sample to analyze all greenhouse gases, with all three. But there's also, if you want to spend a few $1,000s, there are devices that you can just place out there that are constantly measuring. The goal of sustainable agriculture is to meet society's food and textile needs in the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So we don't have to leave the world or the soil in a worse state than we found it. Our ancestors didn't have the knowledge and the perspective that we have, but we do, and I think we can absolutely leave the world a better place if we so decide. And at the very least, anybody can choose to make their little slice of the world a better place in their lifetime.